Healthcare is one of the biggest expenses in retirement and sometimes one of the most overlooked. From covering the gap before Medicare to making the right Medicare choices after 65, the decisions you make can cost or save you tens of thousands of dollars. I'm Casey Bibb, and in this episode, I will be interviewing Mrs. Theresa Martin, the head of Martin Health Solutions, about why Medicare is such a big decision, how to integrate it into your retirement plan, and why getting it right is so important to your financial future. So let's get ready to make retirement great. Welcome back to the Smart Wealth and Retirement Podcast. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, one of my personal best friends, Mrs. Theresa Martin. She heads up our Martin Health Solutions division of the firm. She works every day with families on one of the most complicated and expensive pieces of retirement. Theresa, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Casey. I'm really excited to be here and share some information about this because I know it is very stressful when you're going into retirement and planning for the future. And it can be so unpredictable and costs are all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll have to say, Theresa knows the ins and outs of Medicare. She amazes me daily on how much information she stores on the whole topic. So let's just dive right in. When most people think about retirement planning, they're often thinking about investments, income, Social Security. Why is healthcare such a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to retirement planning?
Well, again, healthcare is both one of the biggest and one of the most unpredictable costs in retirement. Well, because healthcare is one of the biggest and one of the most unpredictable costs. Before Medicare, coverage can run anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 per person per year. And even after Medicare starts, there's premiums and supplements and out-of-pocket costs, and they can still be thousands of dollars a year. If you make mistakes, like missing a deadline or losing subsidies, or picking the wrong plan, you can end up paying tens of thousands more than you need to. And that doesn't even touch the stress worrying about if you have the right coverage when something comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that applies to everybody's lives. When anytime you have a medical decision to make or any kind of bills, you're always worried about what you're going to be paying and what's covered and what's not covered. Healthcare is one of the largest budget line items in retirement. It's too important to leave to chance. Let's talk about healthcare before retirement. Let's start with the folks before 65 that need coverage. What are the main options that they have?
Yeah, if you have been covered under an employer, you often have the chance to have COBRA. Now, COBRA is something that can cover you. It's the same employer coverage that you've had, but the employer is not going to pay their part of it. So you will be paying 100% of it plus 2% in fees. And this also can only last up to 18 months. So that usually means around $800 to $1,200 per person per month if it is available to your spouse and family. It is simple because you're used to that coverage, but it's not cheap at all.
Okay, so probably works as a bridge, but rarely as a long-term solution.
That's correct.
Let's dive into the Affordable Care Act marketplace. How does that fit in?
The Affordable Care Act marketplace is different everywhere that you live. There's lots of different plans. It just depends on where you live and what's available. And now this is where planning really gets powerful, though, because ACA premiums are based on your modified adjusted gross income. We'll call that MAGI for short. A couple retiring at the age of 62 that's still making around $70,000 might qualify for big subsidies, which lowers your cost each month, sometimes saving $1,000 per month in premiums. But if they pull too much from an IRA and push that MAGI higher, those subsidies vanish and the costs can skyrocket.
Right. So your healthcare costs before Medicare are directly tied to how you structure your retirement income. So definitely a piece of the puzzle that you want to make sure you've got dialed in. Let's talk about private health insurance. Do private or short-term health plans ever make sense?
They do make sense. Private health insurance plans are out there, but they're usually just stopgaps for a short period of time between insurances that may be offered to you, whether you're starting a new job or if you're starting Medicare. You just need something to fill that time in between. They do exclude pre-existing conditions and don't qualify for subsidies as well. So they're risky as a core strategy.
Okay, good to know. The pre-existing conditions I think could probably hit home with a lot of people, so definitely an important fact to take into account. So private plans are a fallback, but definitely not a foundation. Let's talk about how to address this in a financial plan. So, how do you help people actually address the healthcare before Medicare in a financial plan?
So, like we talked, your modified adjusted gross income does play a huge part in this. So, this is how we run income models alongside with the healthcare costs. Sometimes it makes sense to use Roth withdrawals instead of IRA withdrawals to keep that Maggie lower. And so you preserve your possibility for getting those ACA subsidies. Other times, part time work or delaying Social Security will help. The point is, healthcare has to be built into your income plan and your tax strategy, not treated separately.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Jim and I talk about this in our episodes a lot. There's more to your retirement plan than just the investments or your 401k or whatever it is that you have been investing in over the years. Healthcare is a big, big deal. And you have to make sure that you look at it as a puzzle and that they all fit together and you're not just looking at them individually.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's move on to healthcare after retirement. So we're retired, we're feeling good, we hit Medicare age. What are some of the basics that we need to know about Medicare?
So often before someone goes on Medicare, they have heard so much information from marketers or friends or family or anything like that. So often when people retire, they become 65 or eligible for Medicare, then they have a lot of information that's already been presented to them, and it can get really confusing. So let's just break down like the basic parts of Medicare, and then we'll talk about how to supplement and just make sure that you don't have any outstanding charges later on.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize that Medicare has different parts. They probably think Medicare is just a whole plan. It's one thing. So yeah, let's dive into it. So it's got 4 parts. Part A is the first one.
Yeah, so Part A is hospital coverage. I like to call that room and board. That's really what it's covering. And now, this is no extra cost to you. You just turn it on when you're eligible, and this is what you paid into all the years that you've worked. Part B is outpatient or doctor care, and this includes anything that happens in a doctor's office or if you have surgery or labs or x rays, all of that stuff is included in Part B. And you do have a premium, and that is $185 for 2025. Now, those numbers do change, and we will get those mid November confirmation of what's out there. It could be a lot higher, though, if you have IRMA costs. If you're a high income earner, then that cost goes up. We've got Part D as well, and I usually say D for drugs.
Yeah, this is the one I can usually remember. D is
Yeah,
for drug.
those costs vary per plan. What's right for your neighbor or what's right for, your spouse is not necessarily right for you because it's all individualized. Then there's what's called Medicare Advantage, and many times they call this Part C. That gets confusing because this is not really part of Medicare, but it's a Medicare alternative. And it combines what's in A, B, and D into one plan, but it's with a private insurer.
Okay, perfect. So a key takeaway would be everyone would need A and B, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what they call original Medicare.
Okay, perfect. But the real choice that you're going to have to make is between Advantage and a supplemental plan. So, what's the big difference between Medicare Advantage and supplementals?
And I've met people that think they only need A and B, and that is incorrect. A and B is insurance and it will cover you, but there's no max out of pocket, so your costs could go on forever. It's a great coverage, but it's not, you need some stuff on top of it.
It's not foolproof.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Advantage plans have lower premiums, sometimes can be even zero, but they restrict you to a network and often require prior auth. Do supplements typically cost more?
Yes, supplements do cost more than Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage, I like to think of as pay me later. You typically have many premiums, but you pay copays later. And then supplements, you're paying a premium every month. And like I said, it could be anywhere from $100, $200, depends on your area, but it gives you nationwide access and fewer surprises. It's really the flexibility versus cost.
Perfect. So, Advantage can save money up front. Supplements buy maximum freedom. So, and definitely an important fact to take into consideration. Let's talk about IRMA and taxes. You mentioned it earlier. Some people might not know what IRMA is. So, how do taxes come into play when you're planning for your retirement and your health care?
IRMA is income related monthly adjusted amount. And this comes in if your Maggie is over $212,000 for couples in 2025. Your Part B premium jumps from $185 to $259 per month per person. At higher brackets, it's over $600. So that's just for Part B, $600. And that's why we coordinate Roth conversions and income withdrawals and Medicare timing. A good tax strategy can literally cut your Medicare premiums in half.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there, Theresa. I think that's very impactful to say. Medicare and tax planning must be coordinated with your financial plan because it could cost you with those IRMA surcharges. And if you don't know that they're out there or it's a thing, then you definitely have to seek help and make sure that you understand your plan.
And it's good to know that IRMA, when you first go into Medicare, they're looking 2 years back. So that planning starts way ahead.
Yeah, good point. So let's talk about prescription drug coverage because many Americans, I'm sure, have medications that they have to take. Prescription coverage, I'd say, is another landmine. What should retirees know?
Part D plans can really cost a lot of money, not necessarily the plans, but the copays, and it just varies widely. So you want to have somebody just look at every specific medication that you have and run it through the system and just make sure that you have the best plan that goes along with that. Now, in 2025, we have a max out of pocket, and this is the first time this has ever happened, but $2,000 max out of pocket. This really disrupted the whole prescription coverage and everything like that, because once you hit $2,000, and many people do within the first couple months, you don't have to pay anything else. The insurance company pays this.
Wow.
It did shake up the whole insurance company, though, for any of the copays and premiums and all of that.
Yeah, uncharted territory for sure.
Exactly. Now, it was $2,000 for 2025, and we do know that it will be $2,100 for 2026. But as the information rolls in, I continue to research.
Yeah, absolutely. She stays on top of it, that's for sure. But a key takeaway with that is always review your drug coverage. As Theresa was saying, those amounts change every year. The cheapest plan last year may not be the cheapest plan next year or the year after that. So it's definitely something that you want to review annually and make sure that you are up to date on that. So let's talk about how to address this in the plan. So how do you tie all of this back into your retirement plan?
So we would want to project lifetime healthcare costs. Of course, those can change as far as needs and inflation and price changes to
Right.
all of it. Premiums, out of pocket, drugs, and fold them into the retirement budget. We also review this annually. So just like you rebalance an investment portfolio, healthcare is dynamic and it requires ongoing planning.
Definitely why we enjoy having a healthcare division here at the firm, because we're able to service you in not just the investment portfolio, as Theresa said. We can rebalance your healthcare and make sure all of your pieces of your puzzle are still fitting smoothly. Let's get to why it matters. Theresa, let's end with the big picture. So why is getting healthcare so important?
So, because mistakes are expensive and often irreversible, miss an enrollment window and you could pay penalties for life. Pick the wrong plan and you might lose access to your doctor. On the flip side, when you get it right, you save thousands, avoid stress, and gain peace of mind knowing healthcare won't derail your retirement. I am a registered nurse and I have met families that were very worried about what that in-hospital stay is gonna cost, and, some of them just did not have any idea at all, and it really helps me to know this side, and I can talk to them, really personally about the feelings that they could get if they don't get the right plan and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So healthcare conditions can make or break your retirement security. And something that Jim and I talk about on the podcast a lot, peace of mind. Most retirees and pre-retirees, that's such an important part of your life, is that peace of mind factor. And whatever you can do to make sure that you are taken care of and you can rest well at night, knowing that you are not just covered in the financial sense, but with your health, it's very important to take a look at. Theresa, this has been incredibly helpful. I know that the world of health insurance and Medicare, it's very vast, and you certainly keep a good grasp on it. We looked at healthcare after Medicare and how to make sure it's built into your financial plan correctly. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. This is really one area that I'm passionate about. As a nurse, like I've already said, I really care about our clients and the people that I talk to, their friends and family, anyone that needs assistance, because you really just have to have somebody that can take the time and listen to you and look at every piece of it.
Absolutely. And healthcare is definitely a very sensitive topic to talk about. So we really appreciate everything you do for our clients here. And that's why at Martin Wealth Solutions and Martin Health Solutions, we bring financial and healthcare planning together. So if you'd like to see more of how we help plan your healthcare and your retirement planning, go to martinwealth.com. We would love to meet you and help you out. From Theresa and myself, take care, and we'll see you next time.
We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of the podcast. Opinions voiced in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives. Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional. We are not affiliated with Social Security or any governmental agency. New River Financial Group, LLC is a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Virginia and other jurisdictions where exempted. New River Financial Group, LLC, doing business as Martin Wealth Solutions. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining value.